There have been many ways from despicable people to justify that Charlie Kirk was murdered. Some of them have said that openly on Facebook. Some of them have said that on TikTok. Some of them have said that behind anonymous accounts. And some politicians have more or less been open about that. He got what he deserved, essentially. But some of them do it in such a covert way that they try to pack it as if it was kind of a compliment. I think one of the worst offenders in this regard is Barack Obama, which I have to quote comic Dave Smith. Despite being the war criminal, monster, butcher of Libya, Syria, and Yemen, and the murderer of American citizens, sometimes it's easy to forget what a horrible person Barack Obama is. And in this event, he was talking about Charlie Kirk, and this is really enlightening, the way that he talks about Charlie and the way that he sneakily, it keeps repeating the idea that in spite that Charlie was killed for just wanting to have an open conversation with people, he was a horrible person for some reason. So here's Barack Obama saying that in a very covert way, and notice how he does it so you can spot it when you have a conversation with people like Obama.
Look, obviously I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was generally aware of some of his ideas.
There's no way that we can say that we can know that he didn't meet Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk actually spoke with many people. In fact, I should make an analysis of that first podcast that Gavin Newsom did on his show. This is Gavin Newsom. The first episode was with Charlie Kirk. So saying, obviously, I didn't meet Charlie Kirk. Many people from Democrats met Charlie Kirk because he was willing to, sit down and speak to anybody. So the obviously was distancing himself as in, no, I never met that guy. Here he continues.
I think those ideas were wrong, but that doesn't negate the fact.
Notice that there is an umbrella term. All ideas, those ideas. I knew what Charlie Kirk's ideas were, and I think those ideas were wrong. All of them. He doesn't say some I agreed with him, in some instances I disagreed with him. In the majority of his ideas, no, it's just a blanket term. I disagreed with everything. Second way that he is being, a scumbag.
That what happened was a tragedy and that I mourn for him and his family. He's a young man with 2 small children and a wife who obviously, and a huge number of friends and supporters who cared about him. And so we have to extend grace to people during their period of mourning and shock. We can also, at the same time,
and this is like the but part of the statement,
say that I disagree with the idea that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake.
Notice this is basically a character assassination. I already made a video in which I selected all the ways that Charlie Kirk's words have been taken out of context. And yeah, he said at some point the words that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake, but he explained in which ways it was a mistake, because in so many ways he agreed with what had been signed out in 1964. And Obama, of course, is making sure to be misleading about it, pretending that Charlie said that everything about the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake, so Charlie Kirk must have been a complete racist. So that's another way that Obama is using his platform, his fame, so to speak, to stir the pot of racism. This guy, that MAGA, that Republicans are praising, was a dead-on racist. So that's what you can expect from all these people. They are praising a man who was so racist, who was against everything about the Civil Rights Act, which is categorically untrue, and I already disproved it on a video.
That's not me politicizing the issue.
Yeah, of course, it's him politicizing the issue. It's 100%. And he even, I'm told you when some toxic personalities, manipulators use, I am not saying this. No, you're definitely saying that. Even if you say, I am not saying that you're lying, that is a subtle and covered way of saying, yeah, I think that you're lying. I am not politicizing the issue. Yeah, you're making the issue about that. You are not extending grace. You are a hypocrite. It's something that, yeah, I agree with the comic Dave Smith. Once more, this guy is a scumbag.
It's making an observation about who are we as a country. I can say that I disagree with the suggestion that my wife or Justice Jackson does not have adequate brain processing power.
Again, I disprove that Charlie said, black women, or that Michelle Obama or Justice Jackson had lack of the brain processing power. In fact, he said that Michelle and Justice Jackson lacked the brain processing power because he was talking about DEI and how DEI had actually hurt the reputation of hardworking black people, in the sense that affirmative action is just a way to, put you because you are black, and that's it. It's to fill up a quota. And Justice Jackson herself was proud to be, there because of affirmative action. As in, I am here just because I'm black, not because of my credentials, not because of my hard work. And yes, if you say that yourself, I think that anybody can agree that you don't have the brain processing power to understand that what you're saying and what you're reinforcing is actually hurting black people's reputation, because, there it is. Affirmative action is a way of, reverse racism and, not meritocracy, but you just earn it because you have to fill up a quota. So that's the problem when you see then a black person at a job. Maybe that black person has earned the right to be there. They have worked hard. But then the problem with affirmative action and being politicized by people like Justice Jackson, it takes away all of that hard work and just leaves a huge question mark. You have to be very dumb to not understand that. So maybe you do lack the brain processing power.
I can say that I disagree that Martin Luther King was awful. I can disagree with some of the broader suggestions of that liberals and Democrats are promoting a conspiracy to displace whites and replace them by ushering in illegal immigrants.
Notice how he has to tiptoe around the subject, saying that broader suggestions, as in Charlie didn't say that directly. There are no records that he was saying that directly. I'm pretty sure that he condemned the influx of illegal migrants because it's something that at this point everybody knows. Even Democrats know that was happening. And, even so many of them disagree with that. And that's why they realize that's one of the reasons why Kamala Harris lost, by the way. Because she said, I'm going to fix the immigration stuff. Why haven't you done that during your work as your tenure as VP, but you didn't do it. Why did you do it? So that's why Obama knows that he has to tiptoe around the subject, because it was an actual thing that everybody knows, and it is public records about that. So he's using even things that Charlie Kirk did not say and are publicly accepted to taint his memory. This guy is a worst.
Those are all topics that we have to be able to discuss honestly and forthrightly, while we still insist that in that process of debate, we respect other people's right to say things that we profoundly disagree with.
I remember that in the early 2010s. I remember that when I was just full on and just body language and curses about body language. I used to mention a lot the way that Barack Obama gave his speeches and the way they were written, and there were even books written about his speeches. And I started his speeches, okay, this guy is good. And right now I realize that all of that was fabricated, that it was the people who wrote the speeches for him. This guy has absolutely it's no eloquent at all. He's just stumbling in a subject that would be so easy for him after maybe having this discussion with so many people, maybe having there's idea in his mind for so long, English being his native tongue. Why are you so stumbling? Why are you stumbling so much with this topic? This is something that I don't understand. So yeah, the guy is simply a fraud. He was propped up by this machine that made him seem like this great public speaker. No, he was great at reading teleprompters. That's it.
That's
so there's also a clip that you might want to watch. While talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination, Obama blames Trump for pushing extreme views while saying those extreme views were not in my White House. Yeah.
We have to recognize that on both sides, undoubtedly there are people who are extremists and who say things that are contrary to what I believe are America's core values. But I will say that those extreme views were not in my White House.
I wonder, why does it take him so much energy to say those words? Should be easy for him. Should be really easy.
I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views. And that is when we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views, we've got a problem.
So it's sad and upsetting looking at this man trying to make a point and having so much trouble getting to the point. And of course, I think the most disgusting part is how he tries to speak or talk about Charlie Kirk in a way that, we should extend some grace to his family and friends who are mourning his death, his senseless assassination, but at the same time, he makes sure to repeat the same hoaxes, the same lies that started it in the first place, that caused his death in the first place. You notice the contradiction? That is so important to understand the kind of people that we are dealing with. But well, I don't know what else to say about this. But before we say goodbye, I remind you that I have a political commentary channel here on YouTube, the Power Pundit, mainly American politics, a bit of international politics as well. So I will leave you with a link in the description so you can join and subscribe there. My body language buddies, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. Much love and bliss.